Krishna Ram Vilas Maharaj ki, Shraddha Govinda Maharaj ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
That's 9.
9.
Chapter 24, verse 29.
No.
9.
Chapter 1,
Chapter 1,
verse 9.
9 canto. You have 9 canto there?
And 9 canto. Oh, text 4.
No, not text 9.
Oh, text 9, sorry.
Yes, enough.
That's enough.
No.
Tasya
Nabe
Samabhavat
Padmakosha
Hiranmaya
Tasmin
Jagye Maharaja Swayambhu
Chaturananam
Tasya Nabe Samabhavat Tasya Nabe Samabhavat Padmakosho Hiranmaya Tasmin Yage Maharaja Swayambhush Chaturanana Tasya Nabe Samabhavat Padmakosho Hiranmaya Tasmin Yage Maharaja Swayambhush Chaturanana
Tasya nabe samabhavat Padmakosho Hiranmaya Tasmin Jagde Maharaja Swayambhush Chaturanana
Tasya Nabe Samabhavat Padmakosho Hiranmaya Tasmin Jagye Maharaja Swayambhush Chaturanana Tasya Nabe Samabhavat Padmakosho Hiranmaya Tasmin Jagye Maharaja Swayambhush Chaturanana Tasya Nabe samabhavat.
Padmakosho Hiranmaya
Dhammakosho hiranmaya.
Tasmin Yagye Maharaja
Tasmin jagye maharaja.
Swayambhu Shatur Arana
Swayambhu chaturananaha. Tasya.
Of him, the Supreme Personality of God.
Of him, the Supreme Personality of God.
Nabehe.
Nabe.
From the navel.
From the navel.
Samabhavat.
Samabhavat.
Generated.
Generated.
Padma Kosha.
Padma Kosha.
The lotus.
The lotus.
Hiranmaya.
Hiranmaya.
Known as Hiranmaya or golden.
Known as Hiranmaya or golden.
Tasmin.
Tasmin.
On the golden lotus.
On the golden lotus.
Yagi.
Yagi.
Appear.
Appear.
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
O king.
O king.
Swayambhu.
Swayambhu.
One who is self-manifested.
One who is self-manifested.
Who takes birth without a mother.
Who takes birth without a mother.
Chaturhanana.
Chaturana.
With 4 heads.
With 4 heads.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O King Parikshit, from the navel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead was generated a golden lotus, on which the 4-faced Lord Brahma took his birth. So here, it's Shukadev Goswami who is speaking to the king. There's no purport, so we extend the
16.
up to 16. Marichirmadanastasya yagyeta prasyutasya paha dakshayanyan tatudicam vishvavan abhavatsutam. Translation. From the mind of Lord Brahma, Marichi took birth, and from the semen of Marichi, Kashyapa appeared from the womb of the daughter of Daksha Maharaj. From Kashyapa, by the womb of Haditi, Vivashvan took birth. Text 11 to 12. Tato manu shraddha deva samyajam nasa bharata shradayam janayam asam dasaputram sahatmam ikshvagu mriga saryati dishtad vishtad karusakam narishantam parisantam cha navagam nakavim vibhu. Translation. O King, best of the Bharata dynasty, from Vivashvan, by the womb of Samya, Shraddhadev Manu was born. Shraddhadev Manu, having conquered his senses, begot 10 sons in the womb of his wife, Shraddha. The name of these sons were Ikshvaku, Nriga, Sharyati, Dishta, Drishta, Karushaka, Narishanda, Rishadra, Navada, and Kavi. Text 13. Aprajasya Mano Purvam Vashishto Bhagavan Kana Bhagavan Kila Mitra Varuna Yorhistim Kasarcham Makaron Vibhu. Translation. Manu at first had no sons. Therefore, in order to get a son for him, the great saint Vashishta, who was very powerful in spiritual knowledge, performed a sacrifice to satisfy the demigods Mitra and Varuna. Text 14. Tatashadam mano atni uttaram samayachata duitartam ubaganya pranipacha prayovrata. Translation. During that sacrifice, Shraddha, Manu's wife, who was observing the rule of subsisting only by drinking milk, approached the priest offering the sacrifice, offered obeisances to him, and begged for a daughter. Veshitu varyuna hota, yacharatam samahita, vihite kavisi vacha, Vasatkaram Grinan Vija, told by the chief priest, now offer oblations. The person in charge of oblation took clarified butter to offer. He then remembered the request of Manu's wife and performed the sacrifice while chanting the word Vasat. Text 16. Otus tavya bicharena dhanyela namasabhava tam virokyam manikaha nati tushtam manat gurum. Translation. Manu had begun that sacrifice for the sake of getting a son. But because the priest was diverted by the request of Manu's wife, a daughter named Illa was born. Upon seeing the daughter, Manu was not very satisfied. Thus he spoke to his guru Vashista as follows. Purport. Because Manu had no issue, he was pleased with the birth of the child, even through a daughter, and gave her the name Illa. Later, however, he was not very satisfied to see the daughter instead of the son. Because he had no issue, he was certainly very glad at the birth of Illa, but his pleasure was temporary. Omaganachirindasya Gananjana Shalakalarisha Churumiritam Yenatas Aishurinaha He Chaitanya Manubishta Tapita Mera Buddhagis He Krishna Karina Sindhu Dinamatu Jagatate Gopishta Tapta Kanchana Murandira Devi Namadeshwari Krishna Manu Suteri Alchakarpata Rubhyascha Kripasi Duryacha Aditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So, at the request of speaking about all these illustrious kings that came like innumerable waves from an ocean to perpetuate their dynasty along with their way of living, along with spiritual knowledge, along with the Vedic civilization in a nutshell. We see so many kings, so many holy personalities that came into existence. We have to understand how the principle of the material world is like that, like a washing machine, moving all things here and there in a way that we have difficulty to perceive because we are changing body at each moment. Each second the body is changing. Outside it is also changing, but we don't see because we don't see the influence of the eternal time, which is the most powerful weapon of Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, of all destroyer and time. Nobody can say, no, I will not die. Death is sure at the very beginning of taking birth. Because the process of the material elements is that it is always into being, into changing. We as spiritual souls should not be affected by this, but because of false identification, we become influenced by this going and going away, and this always this mixing of circumstances of the trigunas. Actually, these are combination of the trigunas that brings us different people, different tastes, different situation, different things in the life, and sometimes that makes us really puzzling, and we are wondering what I'm supposed to do, because the situation becomes so bewildering that we don't know how to act. So Prabhupada was saying in a class, in a lecture, that the natural tendency of this material world is darkness, blind darkness. We need the some light to turn on in order to be able to see something and to understand at least a little where we are. Like here with some switch, with electricity, but in the material world we need the sun and a little the moon. Without these things we cannot perceive nothing. So this gives us some hints as to where we are actually, where we are engaged in something that is normally dark, no color, no smell, no life, inertia. This is the state of being when you are in darkness. And when you are also in ignorance, because you don't know nothing. Like, imagine someone, when we read 4 canto, someone who is taking birth in the womb of his mother, is little by little, around the 7th month, awakening, and is wondering where he is. He is in complete darkness. There is no sun, no moon. And he feels he is engaged. We should also feel we are engaged in this universe with all these shells. We learn from the Vedic scriptures that we are engaged not only with so much distance, but also there is some covering of water, earth, fire, ether, air, ether, force ego, and each one is 10 times thicker. So actually the universe is like a ping pong ball in the middle of a football field. It is very tiny, so you have to imagine all the shells are so huge. And we are wondering, why am I here? Then this knowledge is out of being understood by the blunt material senses. We have to recognize that we need some authority to understand what is our real position. So many people took birth, so many kings with so many empires, so many powerful yogis, and so many rishis came generated by their father, generated by this. We learn again that everything comes from Brahma, who came from this lotus emanating from Lord Vishnu's navel, and Brahma was puzzled at the beginning because there was no sun, no nothing. Like a baby or a fetus in the womb of his mother, what to do? The difference is that Brahma is an intelligent and very advanced personality, and he could receive through the heart the first instruction that was tapas, austerities. And because he was a good soul, he understood he had to submit to that. and to be humble and to practice what he was being told. And as he did, it's in the process. Because he did that, he was powered by the Supreme Personality and enlightened inside. And from this, he understood how to arrange the material elements, and everything in a subtle way came about in his intelligence. And he was a second gardener, like arranging the fields, the seeds where to place, to put these entities like that. And at first came, show up some, not only holy and saintly and very elevated souls, but also bad progeny, like when when Shiva was created, it was a blunder because he started to destroy everything. So he told him, tapas, same thing, practice austerity, restrain your senses. But some other living entities, very demonic also, they try to harass sexually Brahma and try to eat him. So he put them in charge of Shiva and also practice tapas, so that not to be a problem for planting the seed in his garden and arranging the different planets. So Brahma is also the father of our spiritual lineage of Guru Parampara. And we see through all these kings who came into existence and who vanished. Practically nobody knows about Maharishi, these big kings who lived for hundreds, thousands, and tens and hundreds of thousands of years. Only if you go to India and you will see some very old temple or cave that you can understand what is written in Srimad Bhagavatam is not a tale or imagination or something. Because remnants are still existing. And you can still visit some caves that are so old that the entrance that was carved in a square door are so much eroded by the feet of people who came and went out and came and went out. Thousands, millions of people. That the cave, the entrance is like a U, like that. So when you pay a visit to these holy places, sometimes you feel really millions of years were there. And you understand, yes, the Srimad Bhagavatam, what he says is not a tale, it's a reality. But not what the so-called scientists and the archaeologists, what they say, have no proof that this temple, they don't recognize. As soon as it is religious, they despise it and put it aside. No, it's not. Because it is religious, it is not accountable for us. We just want proof, scientifically stamped rubber proof, and for being official, for being really bona fide, that we accept. And we can make some theories about that. Otherwise, what the people they say, what they wrote, because it is religious religion. So this has still completely disqualified them, because the way the Vedic tradition was transmitted is through the authority of the sages, and of course there was no scriptures, because there was no need of scripture at this time. People were so pure that just by they could memorize things very easy. So already for us it's a mystery how people could be like that, or they could memorize all these stories, all these books, all this knowledge, which is so difficult for us when we start to read Bhagavad Gita. It looks like a puzzle. Many people have very much difficulties to understand Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. It requires quite some determination and insistence in reading and trying to understand. And by this authority, then Prabhupada becomes satisfied and gives you Tesham Sakata Yuktanam Vashatam Kriti Purvaka, and gives you the intelligence to understand what is written little by little. And the more we stick to some part of the process and then really to the process, the more it is revealed in your heart. The same way it has been revealed to Lord Brahma in his heart, the same way it is revealed also in us when we follow the authority and we try to maintain a mentality of austerity with humility. It is important to keep humility in mind, because sometimes austerity fosters a kind of false pride, and it is often seen in the technique way of advancing spiritually by the yogis, that they have some false ego there and some pride in exhibiting the supernatural power and trying to get some recognition from that. And they are satisfied when they have hundreds of persons worshipping them and for their tricks, and because they know how to trick the material energy and to manifest gold or ashes or so many other things they can do, fruits or whatever. They know the subtle tricks into the material elements, and sometimes people think it is spiritual, but not. It is material, but just it is more subtle. So austerity without humility may lead to some blockage, some blocking, stumbling blocks in the process of advancing in spiritual life. Because we become identified with this facility, this clarity of understanding things, and we become in a certain way conditioned by goodness. We think we are above goodness, but we are in goodness, and we are in a way contaminated by goodness, if we can say it like that. Yeah. Of course, for the karmi, cannot understand how we can be contaminated by the Triguna. But Krishna says to Arjuna, Triguna Vishaya Veda Nishtriguna. But Arjuna, try to go one stage upstairs the level of the Triguna, which is the level that interests most the Vedas. Most of the Vedas are dealing with the Trigunas, or trying to extract the people from the mud of ignorance to the water of passion, to the ground of goodness. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, you have chances to understand pure goodness. Unless we are accustomed to be in firm grounds of goodness, it is very difficult to understand what is pure goodness. That's why most of the religions and the spiritual practice in the world are arranged in such a way as to give some material contribution or something of material in order for the people to hook it on it, in order for people to be able to catch it and because there is some advantage, then they may take it. But the process is to elevate people from ignorance to passion than to goodness. That's why when there is so many religions and people, they don't understand why it looks so different. But when you and when you look also in the Vedas, you are wondering on so many concessions for the materialistic people. And what is the aim? You know that. So for that, you need a pure devotee who is a Triguna Vishayaveda, or above the level of the Trigunas, and above also the contamination of the goodness, in order to give the target, the ultimate target. People, they have so many goals, artificial goals in life. And Srimad Bhagavatam is there to give the summum bonum, ultimate goal, the paramgati. So it requires the expertise of a spiritual master on the level of Srila Prabhupada to extract the nectar of this of the Vedic scripture. That's why he translated the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is already in essence the essence of the Vedic scriptures. But he makes it in a way that he extracts the nectar of it, which is the devotional side. Same for Bhagavad Gita. And what can we say of Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's not even touched by the Veda. What is teach and spoken in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is on the resort of the Rupa Goswamis and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, where they exhibit not only the pure goal of spiritual life, prema, but also the different qualities of prema, according to the relationship we develop with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It is so confidential that it is just a little touch in the different Vedic literature. The name of Radha is just a little touch here and there. You see, we were speaking about Satyavata Muni, who lived millions of years ago. And it's him who composed Namdam Ishvaram Satchitananda Vigam. And in one of the verses he mentioned the gopis, and he mentioned Radha. He mentioned the name of Radha. So you have to really be with a microscope in the Vedic scripture to see where we speak of the gopi and Radha Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is the person that invites us, see, come through the microscope. Have a look, it is here, here and there. So it is very special. It's because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who came and showed up and opened the chest, the coffer treasure house of love of God. But not only that, he gives Krishna Prem, Radha Prem, the finest spiritual feelings that we can experiment when we are invited in the family of the Rajbasit, of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, which is not so oftenly spoken in the Vedic scriptures, and in the succession of these different kings, most of them are interested in the Brahman effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti, that comes from Krishna. But even the impersonalists, they don't recognize this. They take it as the ultimate goal. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano vipratishthaham amritasya vyagayachacha. Zashtava chacha konske. Shukasyeti kantikasya. He says he himself is the origin of the Brahmajyoti, not opposite, like some pseudo-spiritualists. They try to impose on the title pitch like that. Journey to Brahmajyoti is the limit in between. It is in the spiritual world, but it is not the real inside and stable situation of the spiritual world, where are the Vaikunthas and Goloka Vrindavan also, where we can have a relationship with other liberated souls there, and we can have a relationship with Krishna and offer a service. Because when we develop love of Godhead, you don't just speak, I love you, I love you, I love you, like in a couple, between man and woman, but you do also some practical things for that support what you tell, what you say. Not only mental, but also show it in some acts and some service and something you do and some more important, some desire to do something. This is a good sign of the healthy temperature in spiritual life, to cultivate a desire to do something for Prabhupada or for the devotee or for Krishna. Because for Krishna sometimes we don't know. But for the devotee and Prabhupada, yes, we can know. So, through the Bhagavata, we can see the whole story of the Vedic scripture, of the Vedic civilization, how these kings existed and how they practiced spiritual life, how they renounced their beautiful wives, their children, their army, their treasure, their palace, much more than our Rolls Royce full of noise, black oil, bad smell. No, they had elephants. They had much more things. They had jewels, not plastic stuff that shines for a few years and goes away. They had real gold, not aluminium or stuff that are. Our jewels are made with, when you buy a jewel now, it is 9% gold. They sell it as gold, 9 carat. It's true. There's more alloyed metals than gold. It came like that in Kali Yuga. Everything is trying to give some value, but it is hollow, it is very cheap. So, we speak about a little problem in between the a particular Manu who wanted a progeny, and he had the problem of communication apparently with his wife, because his wife wanted a daughter, and like everyone in India, they want sons. A king without son is doomed. It's like there's a bad thing about that. They could not think of it. It's one of the worst things that can happen to a king. Being defeated or no son. For him, he's smashed like that. Because supposedly the son is to retake the knowledge and the business of the father and perpetuate it to again another dynasty and etc. It's working like that. I had read a story where it was an Englishman who came to a cobbler or someone who was doing very nice thing or drinks or something, I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but the principle is still valid, that he came back, the English went away, and then he came back at the same spot where he had a function or something. And he found the same person at the square, the same juice, the same lassie. And he was astonished. How is it that you see the same recipe, the same stuff? And the person, yeah, I don't know. I came some 20 years ago and it was the same lesson. Yeah, but it was my father. He went away. I just retook the business, and the Englishman was mesmerized because he was thinking it was the same person, but actually he didn't realize it was a little younger what it should have been. But the same business was there, the same shop, the same recipe, the same lassie, or the same shoes, or I don't know, what articraft he was expert in. So this story shows that normally in the Vedic process of evolution, it is stable. Normally the son takes the business of the brother, and it perpetuates like that generation after generation. It is even more important for spiritual life than for material handicraft or handicraft or specialty or for the warriors to have special weapons, something like that. More important is the science, the ultimate, the polytechnical science of the soul. Who we are, where we should be, and to try to correct a bad situation, where we are in a kind of refuse of the spiritual world. Les pipes, les égouts. On est dans les égouts du monde spirituel. So, everyone at this time was aware of this problem and was trying to do something, because the whole of the kingdom, the rules, the temples was organized in such a way for the people to elevate themselves. And we see that nowadays in Kali Yuga it completely vanished. 99% are not aware there is a life after this life, and are not even aware that it is important and practically compulsory to do something to extract us from this vicious circle of samsara, rotating in the different spaces of life through different bodies. Being the same soul, the same owner, the same observator, the synth, but with different shells. Should endeavor to do that. So these people were very aware of that. So normally the sons are the representative of the strength. Because if you're not happy with that, yeah, come in the field, take your sword and battle. That was the system. The Kshatriya was defender of the religion and the protection of the cows, the Brahmins, the women, the children, the elderly, and all of the prajas of the world. Cows. The cow were the riches of the riches of the king were counted not only by his army, his gold, treasure, or this palace, but by the cows. We see this story with when the Penela they took Virat, the king Virat. He has so many thousands of cows. The people from Govardhan and his party, they came to steal the cows. It was the main stuff to steal. Nowadays, what they steal the gold. They make arrangement to make a guy, They steal the gold or the petrol or the mines, copper, diamonds, the gold, the silver, the metals, the iron. That's what interests the powerful companies now, more powerful even than the governments. Because they are the old men with guns. They want this. It's all underground, like the fight with the vegetables, the trees. They fight in between themselves with the roots. So government are like that. And company, powerful company, Pfizer, the army weapon factories are manipulating like that everyone. It's Kali-yuga. It's not. So that's why they wanted to have a son, to perpetuate and to be strong. There. So this misunderstanding in between the Manu and his wife is something that was not probably new. It doesn't. Such a story doesn't sprout out like that. It becomes there is some problem before, and the wife was not satisfied for something, and she took advantage of this situation to put his word before the wish of her husband. So it created a situation difficult for the priest to deal with, because there are different interests. But because the wife was the last one to come, then she had more impression on the priest, and the priest naturally think of the wife at the moment of putting the gig on the fire, and then he did what the wife asked. It was ultimately understood, well, it's a trick of Krishna. The wife was induced by Krishna to came at this moment and to manipulate my mind, and he came this way. So Manu, as a real diplomat, he accepted, he accepted the deal, and he showed a good compass to. But after some time and reflection, he was not so happy, because he was interested in his progeny, or to transmit the Vedic scriptures, the spiritual knowledge, and he needs that. So we'll see next time what is the story of King Sudyumna, who becomes a woman, because at this time the influence of the mind had some effect on the gross material manifestation. And it's a very strange pastime of someone who have sometimes the sex of a woman, sometimes the sex of a man. And it's very actual, because in our society, so many people are trying to understand what sex I am, or what I could become, or what I was before, what are my tendencies. It becomes completely a society of topsy-turvy people who don't know who is who, where is. The situation becomes pandemonium, chaotic, symptomatic of Kali-yuga. And people are more puzzled about in their education. It is to see how it is nowadays. Even the president, he comes in a classroom, and he spoke to some children, 10, 12, 8 years, something like that, and trying to speak of sex, and saying them the sex you have may not be the same you will have in the future. Of course, right, some children were shocked by that. The president telling this in a class. We have to realizing what kind of civilization we landed on. Yeah. Some comments or questions about this verse? I will read the first one, text number 9. O King Parikshit, from the navel of the Supreme Personality of God was generated the golden lotus on which the four-faced Lord Brahma took his birth. Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Prabhupada.
Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Yesterday, I read something from Prabhupada yesterday regarding the cow, and I don't know, I had this realization. He said, you know, it's so unjust to kill the cow because she's providing so many things, and I realized if you look in a big supermarket, like Carrefour, you have a whole department, both sides is just milk products from the cow, and you don't have any other actually department in the stores which is produced by an animal, except, you know, some honey. It's like nothing is produced by an animal actually, except their meat, you know. But it's so shocking when you think of it.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada is the real revolutionary. The real revolutionary.